Okay, we may start now.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's morning here in Nigeria. So good morning, everyone. Today we'll be discussing how to initiate a successful data management strategy, for African banks. So let's get straight to it. First of all, I think the first thing to realize is that today all businesses are data businesses, regardless of whether we're a bank or not. All businesses are data businesses because we are collecting data in one way or the other, and we will then be able to, if we are able to analyze that data properly, we can improve the quality of our customer service and customer experience and all that. So data is the lifeblood of any modern work or any modern organization in today's world. So I'm sure a lot of speakers must have enumerated that already. Data makes business possible. Data makes business a lot more interesting, and it helps us to actually really meet customer demands in a more proactive way. And then data is crucial to the business of all sizes, regardless whether you're a fintech or you're a bank or you're just in any financial services on data is crucial. And so it is important that we also secure our data. We need to put all of this in place and have this mindset when we are drafting a winning strategy for data. Okay. So all data businesses need to be analytic businesses, because it's commonly known that data can be as much as important as data is. If we don't actually get insight out of it or do analytics from it and things like that, we may not really be able to get the best from it. In today's world, data is a major business asset. Typically when you check a financial statement, you won't see data as an asset, but it's an asset that can drive every other assets that you see in the financial statement. So it helps us to say businesses know yourself. So you need to then be able to say, okay, I'm in what business exactly? Today a lot of banks are positioning to be technology organizations that are in the business of banking. And that's the old this current drive around digitization and all that. You are seeing a lot of organizations transition from just banks, as it were, to have a solid technology underbase, and then I think again it's important that we also realize that workers needs to be empowered, for intelligent insights, and then augmented intelligence helps us see patterns that we cannot see. We'll go into the nitty-gritty of all the things that needs to happen or that needs to be considered in driving a data strategy. I just thought I should put some of these building blocks in place. So without analytics, data is a cost center. So it's not really a resource. If there are no analytics, if we are not getting insight from it, if we are not doing predictive analytics, if we are not trying as much as we can to use the data that we have to understand our customers better, improve our profitability and things like that, Now, the end goal is that every bank really needs to become a data-driven organization. Every bank really needs to become a data-driven institution, So data needs to be at the core of the business strategy of what we are doing. So when we are drafting strategy, those days when people are drafting strategy, you don't see a whole pillar or a whole section of the strategy that speaks to how data can help drive the business. But I think that's changing. I've seen quite a number of banks here in Nigeria, putting data and intelligence as a major pillar in their strategy. So I think that's key. So we need to make data analytics part of our business strategy. Another thing is that we need to ensure we have an organizational structure where data is seen as key, and people are taking data-driven decisions, across the organization. So we need to create a culture where people see data as being important and they're taking decisions based on the data that they see. Now, to be able to achieve that would be that we are truly democratizing data. So people have access to data that they need. Now, this is a bit tricky because not everybody would need access to all data. So there's a bit of control. We'll still talk about data governance and all that when we get to the strategy proper. But it's important that we make sure that data is accessible to people when they need it, as at the time they need it, so that it is useful for their decision-making process. And then we see a lot of situations where people do a lot of data management workloads, and it's not automated, so they have to do a lot of VLOOKUPs on Excel. These are things that can be automated in today's world. Now, let's move into the real nitty-gritty of the matter. So, which is what I feel should be a data transformation roadmap for pretty much any organization. Now, the first thing for me is that there must be a data governance, and that would mean that there must be a framework of how do you intend to manage your data. What are the data sources that are important to you as an organization? How do you intend to use your data? How do you intend to improve the integrity of the data that you have? That's the quality of the data that you have. Because if the data is not even clean enough, there's little you can do with it. How do you improve the security of the data? All of these are under data governance. So there must be a data governance framework that states clearly how all of this will be done. Now, I've also tried to see if I can break down that into 3 major aspects. The first one is data quality. I think we can't overemphasize the place and importance of data quality, right? Because this thing is about garbage in, garbage out. Whether you are building a model for predictive analytics or you are trying to do a dashboard for reporting, if the quality of the data that you have is not good enough, you can't get the best out of it. And so that's why some organizations are doing something they call data quality index, which is it helps you check the level of the quality of data per customer. So you can see a customer and say, oh, this customer, okay, I have his email, I have his phone number, I have his, I can contact him. I have things about him that can help me really understand him. And then I have all of this in databases, whether the structured data or unstructured data, that can help me do serious predictive analytics, So that's about data quality. Now, another key part of data governance is metadata, or what some people call business glossary. So it should be easy for anybody who is a data person within the organization to be able to know, if he has the right, that is, to be able to know, okay, this is where the data for this particular thing resides. So transactional data, are they in Finacle or is it FlexCube? If I want to get ATM data, where do I go? Postilion. If I want to get data about this, which table in each of these databases houses this, just so that if I want to do a dashboard or something, it's easy for me to get it, So it's about organizing and classifying data for reference and for use in the right business context. I think that's also key in drawing up any strategy. We need to look at it holistically. Then another thing is access control. In today's world, it's important that you also control who has access to what data. So you must make sure that sensitive data are available only to people who can manage it. And staffs are trained across board on the importance of confidentiality and all of that when it comes to data. So that's about data governance. Now, another key part that I feel every data strategy should have is compliance. Here in Nigeria, we have NDPR, Nigerian Data Protection Regulation. That's the regulation that I think came out in 2019 or so, by NITDA. It's about how in Nigeria here, you measure or you protect the data of the data subjects. In Europe, there's GDPR. I'm sure in different countries across Africa, there will also be regulation about how you use the data of data subjects, So, and then the importance of having this, of complying with regulations like that is that customers begin to trust your brand, with their data. If you ask for data, they know that, oh, it's in their best interest, and you're getting consent and all that. Here in Nigeria, the NDPR states that if you breach the regulation, there's 2%, fine for it, and things like that. So I think after having clear data governance framework, it's also important to have to comply with whatever regulation there is in whichever country you are in that speaks to how to protect data subjects. Now, the next thing for me in crafting out a data strategy is doing like an architecture revamp, depending on where it is you are in your journey. But there should be something like that shows, there should be something called the enterprise data warehouse. That is essentially, it's a database, of course, that brings different databases into one. The idea is, if you have an enterprise data warehouse like that, it will help you scale analytics easily. So for a bank, for example, you have data sitting on your core banking application. You have data sitting on ATM database, which we call Postilion here. You have data sitting on various databases. It's important to bring all of that together into one, and then you do your analytics from there. So you can do your visualization from there. You can do your models from there. You can, and all of that. So it's a lot easier, and it also helps the organization to scale insights. So it means that people don't necessarily need to come to the center to say, oh, hey, data team, send us data for this, data for that. If there are data that they need, you can then have data champions across the organization. People who understand data, they can go there, create dashboards, create reports, and all that, and then be able to use it for what they need, and everybody is looking at a single source of truth, and then you can build a culture of self-service. People are able to analyze data themselves and all that. All of this depends on having a strong data architecture. Now, another thing that I think is important is when you have all of this, you then now need to look at the culture bit of it. Because essentially what you want to do is you want to have a data-driven organization. So even if you invest in the right architecture, you are compliant with data, you have data governance framework in place, you have tools that can help you improve the quality of the data that you have metadata. If the organization is not the type where the data literacy level is high enough, you won't be able to get the best out of it. So that's another key part. So there must be a side or a part of your strategy that speaks to how you want to empower the institution itself. Because at the end of the day, they are the ones that will use all of the good work that you are doing around data, So, and then you can really truly begin to have big data and AI capabilities, and then machine learning. Let me speak a bit about some of these predictive models, especially for us as a bank. So, for example, next best offer. This is popularly known, with Amazon, Netflix, and all that. Saying that, okay, for example, if you buy stocks on Amazon, they say, oh, people who bought this also bought this. So for us as a bank, we can say, oh, customers that come into the bank and have savings accounts, we've looked at it, and then those kind of customers, should we sell cards to them? Should we enroll them on our mobile banking platform, and things like that? Churn rates. These are AI and machine learning capabilities that can be drawn only when we have solid architecture in place, and then we've been able to really grow the institution in terms of data the way we should. Now, even after having all of these models, if the organization is not such that it is prepared to use them very well, we may not get the best out of it, So next is, now the next step for me then is, you need then to institutionalize your data governance. So you have a framework, like a document signed up by ESCO, everybody has gone through it, everybody is fine with it. It talks about usability, availability, integrity, security of data, and all that. Then it's important to also have a data governance committee. The data governance committee is just people who are senior enough to have responsibility for data within the institution. Now, that does a number of things. Number one is it sends the right signal across the institution, across the bank, that there are people that are governing data within the bank. So they essentially have the responsibility of ensuring compliance with the things that you have stated in the framework. I think that's also key. Then change management. I think I've spoken a bit about this, where I said that at the end of the day, no matter how beautiful your infrastructure is or how solid your framework or whatever is, if you don't have a change management process, a process where people can actually begin to change from historical behavior where we just, we don't take decisions based on data, we don't even consider data. So, you need to be able to move people to the age where, in as much as data is not going to be the only factor that you consider, but it has to be a major factor, that you consider in your major day-to-day business decisions, either in your loaning decisions or even in how you engage your customers, how to segment your customers, who are your high net worth customers, who are your mass market customers, and things like that. And then again, another thing is you need tools. You need tools that can help you drive analytics. So all of that needs to also be in the strategy. There must be a place where you're saying, look, you know what, we need to invest in the right framework. So for example, the EDW I talked about, it's an investment, right? If you sit in some databases, you might want to do cloud, which is something that allows you don't necessarily need to have a lot of huge capital outlay. You're just looking at the current expenditure and all that. And you can even be able to scale easily. You can talk about Power BI or Tableau. You need tools to be able to drive home what it is you're trying to achieve. Okay, and then the business outcome, right? I think I've touched pretty much on some of these things. So now you are able to democratize insights. So it's not just a team, either in finance or in data or in customer experience in the center, who actually have insights about customers. Everybody within the bank would then be able to drive insight, and then you're able to enhance customer loyalty, you're able to detect and respond to changes in customer behavior, and that does not necessarily need to sit just in the center. And again, you're able to drive innovation because anybody who sees these things can be able to say, look, we need to come up with a product like this or do this promo or do that, and all that. And ultimately, we're able to grow revenue and improve the customer lifetime value, and then our marketing effectiveness would also be better. These are some of the business outcomes of having a solid data management strategy in place. Now, I decided to put a slide on literacy and organizational readiness because, strategy is great, but execution for me, is greater. So even if you have the great strategy in place, you have the great framework in place, if your organization is not ready to become a data-driven institution, you are just wasting your time. And I think that's why it's important also to drive the right culture. Appoint champions across the institution, people who can help drive that data culture that you're trying to embed. Then have a literacy curriculum, have people who can come from time to time to teach people on the importance of data, how to put data in your daily day-to-day decisions, how to use visualization tools, how to use SQL, things like that. And then you can also have employee assessment and personal groupings. So different employees within the bank will not be on different levels. They will not be on the same level, sorry. They will be on different levels. There will be some who are very techy. There will be some who are still trying to understand the whole concept of data and all that. Be able to group them and then measure how people are moving from one personal level to the other. These are things that needs to be done for us to get the best out of the investments that we are making in data. And then assign learning plans to employees. So if you say, oh, I'm just an entry-level staff, I have basic understanding of data, can I have a learning plan that can help me understand data? Like I said, this bit is very important, or I consider it to be very important, because we can draw up strategy in head office. We can do all of that. But if we don't get the people to buy into it and also be able to understand what it is we are doing, we won't be able to get the best out of our entire effort. Thank you. So Gustav. Are there questions? Are there comments? Gustav. Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Let me check for you if there are questions. So I think there are no questions. We'll put this video on demand so that people can come back to watch later, or
Okay, great.
If there are questions, they will contact you through your email.
Okay, great. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.